about your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and many blessings this holiday season. Welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West. Here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Oh, yeah. Holly jolly. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Gerard says goodbye to Melfi. Jim Melfi has served Gerard for 24 years. He served as Gerard's mayor, and his last day of service will be December 31st. Mark Zuppo will be sworn in on January 1st. Now, there are some new and upcoming projects that were the centerpiece of an article published in the Vindicator on December 12th that highlights what's been going on in Gerard under Melfi's last years and over his 24 years. Now, Melfi has taken pride in his ability to manage Gerard's finances. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. Ruley eyes Congress. As Congressman Bill Johnson takes on his new role as YSU's president, Michael Ruley is looking to fill his position. Michael Ruley is currently in his second 4-year term in the Ohio Senate. Now, the 6th congressional district consists of Mahoning, Columbiana, Carroll, Jefferson, Belmont, Harrison, Monroe, Noble, Washington, and parts of Stark and Tuscarawas counties. Now, this is with Bill Johnson stepping down, these districts could be without some representation for several months. The deadline to file for the March 19th primary is December 20th. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3, UAW money. A report out of Lordstown says that approximately 800 United Auto workers will all share nearly $8 million in back pay after an arbitrator ruled that GM violated its contract with the union after closing 3 plants in 2019. Now, this story is still developing because people are starting to smell a little bit extra money coming their way, and they could get antsy. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. Are local education transitions normal? Big question. Does consistency have anything to do with how students learn? That's another big question. The data in Youngstown shows that it could possibly play a factor in academics, but now Liberty will be tested after a longtime Board of Education member, Diana DeVito, is out after serving for the past 17 years. Janine Hamilton will replace DeVito. Liberty Superintendent Andrew J. Tamalio will also be stepping down, and Deborah Meddy will be stepping in as on a temporary basis, thus making this a top story. And as many people ask the question of, does consistency have anything to do with the data of graduation and academics, especially in the local school? That's why story number 4 made it this week. In Youngstown is a big example. Big questions. Big stories. Story number 5. Why is the lockdown at East High School newsworthy? An altercation at East High School causing a lockdown continues to show the many challenges weighing the district down. But these random situations have not just been occurring in Youngstown. eSchoolSafety.org has a number of 55 shootings, has a number stating that the number sits at 55 shootings on school campuses that took place either during or after school hours, accounting for 7.9% of all violent incidents in 2022 to 2023. Now, theft is the most common crime committed in schools, if you did not know, according to encyclopedia.com. Now, the challenge is trying to figure out why students snap, or kids, even with the abundance of resources and information being handed out in public schools. So that's why story number 5, the lockdown that took place at East High School, is newsworthy because it's been happening for quite some time. Story number 5, big headline. Story number 6, $155 million grant. Eastgate Regional Council of Government is seeking a $155.7 million state grant to help fund projects in Trumbull, Mahoning, Columbiana, and Ashtabula counties. Now, the total number is 17 for Mahoning County, 12 for Ashtabula, 10 for Trumbull County, and 1 for Columbiana County. Now, the money will be used for workforce training, revitalization, and health care. One report published by the Mediator December 12th by Ron Seelick Jr. goes in detail about how the money will be used if you want to check it out. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week, because they're talking money for improvements. Can't go wrong, and you can't, well, you can go broke. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Extra, read all about it. Come get your news here. Top 8 stories, can't beat it. Story number 7. The pressure remains high in Youngstown. Extra. The pressure is still on in Youngstown when it comes to jobs and academic excellence. Now, the city also has a crime problem which is hindering some business growth and activity on certain parts of town. Now, even with the improvement of the city's appearance in many areas, residents and business owners continue to apply pressure to the ruling party in some critical areas. Some people just don't even know what the heck is going on. They're just walking around the city and just buying and selling and not even knowing what the heck is actually really going on. Oh, Youngstown's very beautified. But folks, this story is still developing because the people who actually understand and are very critical about these things have some complaints. So story number 7 also made it to the top this week. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. Sent from God alone to the earth to mediate, came through the womb of Lisa Jane to promote and to discuss the information of media. As a child born on the newspaper floor to pass out newspapers, and in the process publishing books, to be an answer for all those who seek and desire mediation and to be informed. For you, story number 8, 21 homicides in Youngstown. Whew. Crime has stayed in the headlines in Youngstown, folks, after police investigate 3 homicides that took place in an 18-hour span. Now, the 3 incidents do not appear to be connected. Youngstown Mayor Jamel Tito Brown and Police Chief Carl Davis both made front-page news in a continued effort to tackle crime in the city, thus making story number 8 a top headline, because when you're talking about losing life and people, especially around the holidays, that's a big story, because we should be in a holiday spirit. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'm right back to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories, so don't you go anywhere. You're on the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, I had the privilege and opportunity, and I went to some Christmas parties and had one of my own. And I did not know that how some people orchestrate their Christmas parties. Nowadays, they have different ways. Well, went to this one party, and the coordinator had people segregated in political sections. And I know why she did this. So I pulled her to the side. I said, why do you have James and Gina sitting over here, and you got Bob and Jill sitting over there, and you got Peter and Kate sitting in the middle, or Dennis and Kate? She said, because over there, that's the Trump section. Over there, that's the Biden section. And in the middle, those are what we call the uninformed voters, Brian. I said, oh, okay. But why are they separated? Why aren't they sitting in a group? She says, Brian, you know we're best friends. But I don't want any bull at my Christmas party. I'm doing this to mediate to the masses so nothing goes down. And she had a problem because each section, I didn't know which one to sit in, so I just took the microphone and started singing karaoke. But as the party went on, I started noticing that Bob getting upset. He always wanted to talk to someone. I mean, this brother would not sit down. Had to spark up a debate with a Trump voter. I mean, all. Next thing you know, the party was getting crazy. Well, I don't know if abortion is right. I don't know if abortion is wrong. Well, I tell you this. If you get the minority vote, well, then what we going to do? Everybody in the Christmas party talking about everything but the gospel of the holiday spirit. Whew. So I took the microphone and I started singing. Amazing grace, how sweet. And it was amazing how quickly they had caught on. Sat down, and I fed them all I gave them all cupcakes, some wine, settled down. And this party was getting out of control. And for what I'm hearing, that's how a lot of Christmas parties been happening. People getting upset, people not getting invited. But I applaud my friend for trying and inviting everybody out. After the party, I asked if people wanted to go Christmas caroling. They looked at me like I was crazy. Nobody believes in Jesus anymore. And that was supposed to be the reason for the season. So I took my Christmas gifts and I went out and I just went Christmas caroling by myself, holding on to the Spirit of the Lord. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Woo. Peace on earth and glory light, God and sinners reconcile. Joyful all ye nations rise. That's my story, folks. Let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Speaking of Jesus, the Hamas question. Here's some questions. How old are the soldiers fighting for Hamas? Who is supplying Hamas? How did they succeed at an attack on Israel? Or how did that happen on a nation? Or sovereign state, whatever you want to call it. These are all the questions eating away at the most recent saga surrounding the Israel-Hamas carnage. Now, Reuters has a piece stating that the Iranian foreign minister says that Israel and the U.S. cannot wipe out Hamas. So how does all these groups keep popping up? I talked to some of my Arab friends, and they tell me it's all a conspiracy. Something's going on in the Middle East. I talked to a lot of people just to get some information. Now, this is all while more blood continues to be shed with humanitarian aid workers begging and praying for peace, especially around the holidays. Folks, this story is still developing. That's story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, tracking the supplies of guns. ProPublica points out something that gun owners and suppliers may be concerned about. Now, they took the fight to the source providing the guns, which is the gun shops. Now, the story says that out of the 60,000 gun retailers in America, very few of them say no to buyers, which could have possibly prevented illegal transactions. Now, this story is still alive and still developing as the gun debate continues to drag on. That's why story number 2 made it in this week. Story number 3. There are some brutal weapons being used in these wars. NBC reports that nearly one-fifth of Israeli soldiers killed in Gaza died due to friendly fire. How crazy is that? Now, the Washington Post says that Israel used U.S.-supplied white phosphorus in a Lebanon attack. Now, Russia has also made some headlines when it comes to the utilization of deadly weapons. Now, this story is still developing because there are some deadly weapons being used in these deadly wars. A lot of people dying, folks. A lot of people checking out. That's why story number 3 made it in. Story number 4. There is a reason why countries are watching their borders. War and economic conditions are causing people to make some desperate moves, desperate decisions. NPR has a piece about how Egypt doesn't want Palestinians in Gaza crossing. They don't want them crossing their border. Wow, how sad is that? Now, this one headline resonates with how border issues are shooting up into top stories, especially while people are seeking refuge in other countries. Now, this story is still developing even as America grapples with its own border issues under the Biden administration. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8Inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Welcome back, welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, I had a chance to do some interning as Santa Claus up in the North Pole. I was trying to get me a job up there. And they had this section where all these elves who misbehave, they would go and they would have to get punished. And so I went there. I was working on some journaling, so I went in there as Santa Claus to try to, increase pay. I was trying to get the job and trying to impress the elves. Come to find out, some of these elves had gotten into fights with other mediators, other referees and stuff, because they have North Pole games and stuff. Big time. They call it a fuzzball up there, where you throw snowballs, you roll on snowballs and stuff, and then they got competitions to where you got to patch up the sleigh, who can patch up the sleigh faster, who can clean up the reindeers. I had a jolly old good time up there. Too bad I think I got the job, though. I think I'm ready. So you might see me on the roof this year. But I was talking to some of these elves, and I didn't know elves battle with depression. This one elf that had beat up a referee over a soccer game. I mean, brutally beat the referee down. Other elves was kicking him. When I was talking to these behavioral elves, because I needed them because we had a shortage in packaging. I needed these elves to run the shift. So I went up there and I tried to mediate and talk to them. I mean, these elves was crazy. One elf had punched another elf over a basketball game. What you gonna do? I'm like, man, these elves is violent. So I'm talking to them. I'm trying to get them. I say, well, if you come back, you can come back for $30 an hour. On top of that, I'll give you benefits, and you can help me on the sleigh. Help me deliver the toys. And one elf was frustrated. I've been in here for too long. I don't know how I'm gonna feed my family, Santa. I need more money. More money. What about my health care, Santa? I mean, last year, I almost broke my ankle working on toys. I can't do the job anymore. I said, well, what do you want to do? One elf was talking about how he wanted to go back to Ireland and work on the new set of Lord of the Rings. I said, man, these elves are lazy. So I got upset. I went out and got me they had this little magic gun up in the North Pole. Magic gun where you shoot it up in the air and all types of this magic sprinkly stuff comes out and hypes the elves up. Some of them don't even go to sleep for like 24 hours. So I sprayed it. These elves needed some motivation to get back to work, to get back in the spirit of Christmas. And I sprayed this thing, and the one elf got real powerful, started getting buffed up. Started singing all these Christmas songs and rocking around the Christmas tree, have a Christmas party-ho. And I couldn't believe how much work I got done. So when they seen how I motivated and sparked the elf spirit, I got the job. So this year I'll be delivering presents to Santa Claus. And my goal is to go to Israel and give to the children, the Israel children and the Palestinian children, to try to get some peace. Well, folks, that's my story this week. Let's waste no time. I'll be delivering Christmas presents this year. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Who's the real Santa baby? Story number 5. Story number 5. How many lives lost in the Ukraine-Russia war so far? On December 12th, Reuters published a piece on how U.S. intelligence has assessed the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, the piece goes on to cite how Russian casualties are in the $315,000 range. That's a lot of dead people, folks, and that's sad. Now, the article goes on to explain an entire situation that could have possibly been prevented if Putin had not sounded the war drum. Now, this story exemplifies the rugged drag and strain that war unleashes. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6, the immigration view. The Hill has a piece headline stating that MAGA, that's if you remember the MAGA hats, it says that it gets the economics of immigration all wrong. The piece is extensive and deserves a read because it points out the war taking place in regard to how the migration of immigrants affects the job market and the economy. Now, Stephen Miller, who is a former Trump advisor, says that the mass deportation will be a labor market disruption celebrated by American workers. So basically saying that if there's a mass deportation of immigrants, he's saying that will be a celebration of American workers who will now be offered higher wages with better benefits to fill the jobs that immigrants are filling. So they're basically putting this in some type of competition, saying that if the immigrants don't do it, American workers will do it, and on top of that, get some benefits. Now, the story highlights the many views and numbers being looked at when it comes to immigration. Folks, this story is still developing. That's why story number 6 also made to the top 2 this week. Story number 7 and the top 2. International headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Step right up. I've got just what you need. A story to keep you informed. It's good for you. Gives you mass nutrition, and it gives you the information that you need for your debating, whether you do it on any social media accounts or at home with your ex-wife or with your wife. If you're shouting about something, you're shouting about the news. It's not going to do anything for you, but get you a little bit of a rush. It might even get you in a little bit of a fight. But at the end of the day, you will know what you're talking about. Story number 7, the economic healing. Americans are spending, that's a fact, and economists are adding up what many can't seem to comprehend. How do you spend if you don't have any money? If you say you don't have any money. Either way, America is spending old and new money. Now, in the most recent reports, even after grim projections, money watchers are now noticing a somewhat economic healing. CNN Business has a piece stating that mortgage rates dropped under 7% for the first time since August, and according to the piece, could continue to fall. Fox Business says that private equity fund manager Grant Cardone is warning that the U.S. is entering the greatest correction of his lifetime. How this happened after a pessimistic outlook, especially when you look at the housing market, and now went from all that to now almost having first-time buyers attempting to buy a house. Folks, this story is still developing. How this happened over time. Big headline. Story number 7. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week. Getting in shape for Christmas. I'm getting in shape to ride and deliver the toys. Story number 8. We've become a product of debt. MoneyWise has a headline reading that America is now paying more in gross interest on its record $33 trillion debt. They're paying that much. They're paying that enough. That's more than on the national defense. Now, the piece goes on to focus on how young America has lost faith in the stock market. It goes on. Now, the piece also points out that nearly $2 billion is spent every day in interest on the national debt, according to Peter G. Peterson, the Peter G. Peterson Foundation. Almost messed that up. Now, which they're saying that this is making it hard for corporations to borrow money. Now, the main talking point is who owns the debt. The debt is owned by foreign governments as well as banks and private investors. State and local governments and the Federal Reserve all own most of the debt, and it's all held in Treasury securities. Treasury security, bills, and bonds. Folks, this story is still developing. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I am just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating the news stories, the media's news stories, just to keep you informed. Checking them twice. Going to find out if they're naughty or nice. If you want to show some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. If the website does not work in your state, give it some time to load, or use the private browser, and that may help out. If you have any other concerns, feel free to stop at the store at 5648 Market Street. You can buy something at the store, 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio, where you can buy something in the store and see my smiling face. Well, folks, I am out of here. I'll be back next week on Christmas Day just to deliver those gifts, keep you informed, those stories. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator. Me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is